Some love stories in Hollywood burn bright and fast, but others leave a mark that lasts forever. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most heartbreaking and beautiful love stories that Hollywood has ever seen. It's about Lee Majors, the man who became famous as the $6 Million Man, and his eternal connection to Farrah Fawcett, the golden-haired angel who captured America's heart in Charlie's Angels. What Lee recently shared about Farrah will break your heart and show you what true love really means. Picture this. It's the 1970s, and Hollywood is buzzing with excitement. Two of television's biggest stars are married to each other, living what seemed like a fairy tale life. Lee Majors was jumping over buildings and fighting bad guys as Steve Austin, while his wife Farrah Fawcett was kicking down doors and solving crimes with her fellow angels. They were the golden couple that everyone looked up to, the perfect pair that graced magazine covers and red carpets everywhere. But behind all the glitz and glamour, there was a real love story happening. A story that started when two young actors met and fell head over heels for each other. Lee Majors was already making a name for himself in Hollywood when he first laid eyes on Farrah Fawcett. She was a young college beauty from Texas who had dreams of making it big in the entertainment world. The moment Lee saw her, he knew she was special. He later described her as being so cute and so beautiful, not just on the outside, but deep down inside where it really mattered. Their romance began in the late 1960s when Hollywood was a very different place. There were no cell phones, no social media, and no constant cameras following celebrities around. It was a time when two people could fall in love without the whole world watching their every move. Lee and Farrah dated for several years, getting to know each other and building a foundation of friendship and love that would last long after their marriage ended. In 1973, they decided to make it official and tied the knot. The wedding was a beautiful affair, and everyone in Hollywood was talking about the handsome couple. Lee was already established in his career, but Farrah was still finding her way. She was getting small roles here and there, appearing in commercials and guest spots on television shows. Nobody could have predicted that she would soon become one of the most famous women in the world. The year after they got married, Lee landed the role that would make him a household name. He became Steve Austin in The $6 Million Man, a show about a man with bionic parts who could run faster, jump higher, and see better than any normal person. The show was a huge hit, and suddenly Lee Majors was one of the biggest stars on television. Farrah even appeared on the show a few times, playing different characters and showing off her acting skills alongside her husband. But then something happened that changed everything. In 1976, Farrah landed a role in a new show called Charlie's Angels. She played Jill Monroe, one of three female detectives who worked for a mysterious boss named Charlie. The show was an instant success, but it was Farrah who really captured America's attention. Her beautiful blonde hair, her bright smile, and her natural charm made her the breakout star of the show. That famous poster of her in a red swimsuit became one of the best-selling posters of all time, and suddenly, everyone in America knew who Farrah Fawcett was. Now, you might think that having two successful stars in one marriage would be a dream come true, but the reality was much more complicated. Both Lee and Farrah were working constantly, traveling for their shows and dealing with the pressure of being famous. The more successful they became, the less time they had for each other. Lee later talked about how difficult it was during those years. He said that in one entire year, he only saw Farrah for 2 weeks. 2 weeks out of a whole year. Can you imagine being married to someone and barely seeing them? The constant travel, the demanding schedules, and the pressure of fame started to take its toll on their marriage. They were both trying to build their careers and give their fans the best performances they could, but they were losing each other in the process. It wasn't that they stopped loving each other. It was that they simply couldn't find the time to be together and nurture their relationship. The media attention made things even harder. Everywhere they went, photographers followed them. Every time they tried to have a private moment, someone was there with a camera. Lee talked about how difficult it was to get around without being bothered by fans and paparazzi. They couldn't go to a restaurant without being interrupted, couldn't take a walk without being photographed, and couldn't have a normal conversation without someone trying to listen in. Despite all these challenges, Lee and Farrah tried to make their marriage work. They loved each other deeply, and they both hoped that things would get better. But as the years went by, it became clear that their careers were pulling them in different directions. Farrah was becoming more and more famous, landing movie roles and becoming a cultural icon. Lee was also busy with his own projects, and their paths were crossing less and less frequently. In 1979, they made the difficult decision to separate. It wasn't because they had fallen out of love or because they were angry with each other. It was because they realized that they couldn't give their marriage the attention it needed while also pursuing their demanding careers. The separation was hard on both of them, but they remained friends and continued to care about each other deeply. The divorce was finalized in 1982, but that wasn't the end of their story. Even though they were no longer married, Lee and Farrah maintained a special connection. They had shared some of the most important years of their lives together, and that bond couldn't be broken by a piece of paper. They had been there for each other during their rise to fame. They had supported each other through the challenges of being in the spotlight, and they had created memories that would last forever. After their divorce, both Lee and Farrah moved on with their lives. Farrah began a long relationship with actor Ryan O'Neal, and they had a son together named Redmond. Lee also remarried, finding love again with other women and eventually settling down with his current wife, Faith. But even as they built new lives and new relationships, the connection between Lee and Farrah never really disappeared. Over the years, Lee would occasionally talk about Farrah in interviews. He always spoke about her with such love and respect. He would describe her as an angel on earth, someone who was not only beautiful on the outside but had a heart of gold. He never said anything negative about her, never blamed her for their divorce, and always made it clear that he considered her to be a very special person who had made his life better. Farrah, for her part, also spoke kindly about Lee. She understood that their marriage had ended not because of any lack of love, but because of circumstances beyond their control. She knew that Lee was a good man who had loved her truly, and she never forgot the happy times they had shared together. As the years passed, both Lee and Farrah faced various challenges in their lives. Lee continued acting and eventually found happiness in his later marriages. Farrah dealt with the ups and downs of her relationship with Ryan O'Neal, raised her son, and continued working in television and movies. But through it all, they maintained a quiet respect and affection for each other. Then, in 2006, Farrah received devastating news. She was diagnosed with cancer, a battle that would consume the last years of her life. The diagnosis was a shock to everyone who knew and loved her, including Lee. Even though they had been divorced for more than 20 years, Lee still cared deeply about Farrah's well-being. He followed her progress through mutual friends and was deeply concerned about her health. Farrah fought her cancer battle with incredible courage and grace. She documented her journey in a film called Farrah's Story, showing the world what it was really like to fight for your life against such a terrible disease. She went through multiple treatments, traveled to different countries seeking cures, and never gave up hope that she could beat the cancer and return to the life she loved. During this difficult time, Lee reached out to Farrah. Even though they had been apart for so many years, he wanted her to know that he was thinking about her and supporting her in any way he could. They had a phone conversation that Lee later described as wonderful. It was a chance for them to reconnect, to remember the good time as they had shared, and to express their continued care for each other. That conversation meant the world to both of them. For Farrah, it was a reminder that there were people who had loved her truly and deeply, people who would always care about her no matter what happened. For Lee, it was a chance to let her know that she had never been forgotten, that the love they had shared was still there in his heart, and that he was praying for her recovery. Sadly, Farrah lost her battle with cancer on June 25, 2009. She was just 62 years old, far too young to leave this world. Her death was a shock to everyone who knew her, and millions of fans around the world mourned the loss of this beautiful, talented woman who had brought so much joy into their lives. When it came time for Farrah's funeral, Lee made a decision that surprised some people. He chose not to attend the service. This wasn't because he didn't care about Farrah or because he wanted to disrespect her memory. Instead, it was because he felt that his presence might create a distraction from what should be a celebration of her life. He knew that if he showed up, the media would focus on him and his past relationship with Farrah rather than on honoring her memory. Lee also explained that he wanted to hold on to his own private memories of Farrah. He didn't want his last image of her to be in a casket, surrounded by sadness and grief. Instead, he preferred to remember her as she was during their happiest times together, young, beautiful, full of life and dreams, laughing and smiling, and bringing joy to everyone around her. This decision showed just how much Lee still cared about Farrah, even after all those years. He put her memory and her family's wishes ahead of his own desire to say goodbye in person. He understood that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let others have their moment to grieve and remember. In the years since Farrah's death, Lee has continued to speak about her with love and respect. He has shared stories about their time together, always emphasizing the positive memories and the deep connection they shared. He has talked about how she was not just a beautiful woman, but someone with a kind heart and a generous spirit. He has made it clear that even though their marriage didn't last forever, the love and respect he had for her never faded. Recently, Lee has opened up even more about his feelings for Farrah. He has confirmed what many people suspected all along, that a part of his heart never moved on from her. This doesn't mean that he hasn't been happy in his other relationships, or that he hasn't found love again. It simply means that Farrah holds a special place in his heart that no one else can fill. This kind of love is rare and beautiful. It's the kind of love that transcends time and circumstances. It's the kind of love that doesn't end when a marriage ends or when someone passes away. It's the kind of love that becomes a permanent part of who you are, something that shapes you and stays with you for the rest of your life. Lee's honesty about his continued feelings for Farrah is both heartbreaking and inspiring. It shows us that true love doesn't always follow the rules we expect it to follow. Sometimes two people can love each other deeply but not be able to make a life together work. Sometimes careers and circumstances can pull people apart, even when their hearts want to stay together. And sometimes the love you feel for someone becomes a part of your soul that stays with you forever, even if you can't be with that person. What makes this story even more touching is how Lee has handled these feelings. He hasn't let his love for Farrah prevent him from finding happiness with other people. He has been married to his current wife, Faith, for more than 20 years, and by all accounts, they have a wonderful relationship. He has been able to honor his feelings for Farrah while also building a new life and creating new memories with someone else. This shows us that the human heart is capable of holding multiple loves at the same time. We can love someone who is no longer in our lives while also loving someone who is with us today. We can carry the memory of a past love while also being fully present in a current relationship. Love doesn't have to be exclusive or limited. It can be expansive and generous, making room for all the people who have touched our hearts in meaningful ways. Lee's story also teaches us about the importance of friendship in love. Even though his marriage to Farrah didn't work out, they were able to maintain a friendship and continue caring about each other. They didn't let hurt or disappointment turn into bitterness or anger. Instead, they chose to focus on the good times they had shared and the positive impact they had on each other's lives. This is a lesson that many of us could benefit from learning. Too often, when relationships end, people focus on what went wrong rather than what went right. They let anger and hurt overshadow the love and joy that was also part of the relationship. But Lee and Farrah chose a different path. They chose to remember the best of their time together and to carry that forward with them. The truth that Lee has revealed about his heart never fully moving on from Farrah is also a testament to the special person she was. Farrah wasn't just beautiful, though she certainly was that. She wasn't just talented, though she was that too. She was someone who had a rare quality that made people fall in love with her and stay in love with her long after she was gone. People who knew Farrah often talked about her warmth, her kindness, and her genuine nature. She wasn't someone who put on airs or pretended to be something she wasn't. She was real and authentic, and that authenticity touched everyone who came into contact with her. She had a way of making people feel special and valued, and that's a gift that very few people possess. Lee was lucky enough to experience that gift firsthand during some of the most important years of both of their lives. He got to see her not just as the glamorous star that the world fell in love with, but as the real person behind the image. He got to know her hopes and dreams, her fears and insecurities, her sense of humor and her capacity for love. And once you've experienced that level of connection with someone, it becomes a part of you that you carry forever. The story of Lee and Farrah also reminds us that love stories don't always have the endings we expect them to have. In movies and books, the couple usually ends up together, riding off into the sunset to live happily ever after. But in real life, love stories are often more complicated. Sometimes two people can love each other deeply but not be able to make it work. Sometimes external circumstances are stronger than internal feelings. Sometimes the timing is wrong, or the pressures are too great, or the paths people need to follow lead them in different directions. But that doesn't make the love any less real or any less valuable. The love that Lee and Farrah shared was genuine and meaningful, even though their marriage didn't last forever. It shaped both of their lives in positive ways, gave them beautiful memories to cherish, and created a bond that lasted until Farrah's death and continues in Lee's heart to this day. As Lee has gotten older, he has gained the wisdom and perspective that comes with age. He can look back on his relationship with Farrah and see it for what it truly was, a beautiful chapter in both of their lives that deserves to be remembered with gratitude rather than regret. He can acknowledge that a part of his heart will always belong to her, while also appreciating the other relationships and experiences that have enriched his life. This kind of mature perspective on love and loss is something that we can all learn from. Too often we think that if a relationship doesn't last forever, it must have been a failure. But Lee's story shows us that some relationships are meant to be temporary chapters rather than entire books. They come into our lives to teach us something, to give us something we need, or to help us grow in ways we wouldn't have grown otherwise. The love between Lee and Farrah taught them both about partnership, about supporting each other's dreams, about dealing with fame and pressure, and about the importance of maintaining connection even when life pulls you in different directions. These were valuable lessons that served them well in their future relationships and endeavors. Today, Lee Majors is in his 80s, and he continues to work occasionally in Hollywood. He appeared in the recent Fall Guy movie, reprising his connection to one of his most famous roles. He remains happily married to Faith, and he seems to have found peace with all aspects of his life, including his relationship with Farrah's memory. When he talks about Farrah now, there's no sadness or regret in his voice. There's only love, respect, and gratitude for the time they shared together. He speaks of her as someone who made his life richer and better, someone who will always hold a special place in his heart. This is the mark of a man who has learned to carry love in a healthy way, honoring the past while embracing the present. The truth that Lee has shared with us about never fully moving on from Farrah is ultimately a beautiful thing. It shows us that some connections are so deep and meaningful that they become a permanent part of who we are. It shows us that love can take many forms and doesn't always have to fit into neat categories or follow expected patterns. And it shows us that the human heart is capable of tremendous depth and capacity. In a world where relationships often seem disposable and love seems fleeting, the story of Lee and Farrah gives us hope. It reminds us that real love, when it happens, leaves a lasting mark. It changes us in ways that we carry forward for the rest of our lives. It becomes part of our story, part of our identity, part of what makes us who we are. So the next time you find yourself questioning whether love is real or whether it lasts, remember the story of Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett. Remember that true love doesn't always mean forever together, but it always means forever changed. Remember that some people come into our lives and touch our hearts in ways that echo through all our remaining years. And remember that it's okay to carry love with you, even when the person you love is no longer part of your daily life. It's okay to honor past relationships while building new ones. It's okay to let your heart be big enough to hold multiple loves, multiple chapters, multiple beautiful stories. Lee Majors has given us a gift by sharing his truth about Farrah. He has shown us what it looks like to love deeply, to lose gracefully, and to carry beautiful memories forward with dignity and grace. His heart may never have fully moved on from Farrah, and that's not a tragedy. It's a testament to the power of real love and the beauty of a connection that transcends time. If this story touched your heart the way it touched ours, please hit that like button and let us know in the comments. Share this video with someone who believes in the power of true love, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories about the real lives and loves of Hollywood's biggest stars. Because sometimes the most beautiful stories are the ones that don't have perfect endings, but perfect love that lasts forever.